The rain against the lecture hall windows sounded like static, a white noise that usually helped me focus. But today, the rhythm of the storm outside was the only thing competing with the frantic beating of my own heart. I sat in the third row near the aisle, exactly where I always sat. My goal in life, specifically my life at St. Field University, was simple: remain invisible. I was Mia, the girl who took neat notes, never spoke out of turn, and faded into the background like a watermark on a page. It was a safe existence. Or at least it had been until this semester began. At the front of the room, sitting perfectly upright in the seat reserved for the class representative, was Elena. She was everything I was not. Where I was soft edges and muted colors, Elena was sharp lines and commanding presence. Her dark hair was tied back in a severe ponytail that swung like a pendulum when she walked. Her glasses caught the fluorescent light of the classroom, hiding her eyes just enough to make her expression unreadable to everyone else. But I knew better. I had felt the weight of her attention for weeks now, a physical pressure that settled on the back of my neck whenever she entered the room. Professor Holloway was droning on about macroeconomic theories, his voice a monotonous hum that blended with the rain. Most of the class was slipping into a lull, heads nodding, phones hidden behind textbooks. I tried to focus on my notebook, the tip of my pen hovering over the paper. I needed to write down the key points, but the words were blurring together. The air in the lecture hall felt suddenly thick, charged with an electricity that had nothing to do with the storm outside. That I shifted in my seat, adjusting the collar of my sweater. It was a nervous habit, one I thought I had hidden well. But as I moved, the sensation returned. That heavy, unwavering gaze. It wasn't a glance, it was a stare. It felt like a hand resting on my skin, warm and possessive. I kept my head down, pretending to be engrossed in my notes, but my peripheral vision was screaming at me. I knew where she was. I knew exactly where Elena was sitting without having to look. She was 2 rows ahead and to the left, but somehow she felt like she was right beside me. My hand trembled slightly. I tried to steady it, gripping the pen tighter, but the slick plastic betrayed me. It slipped from my sweaty palm, hitting the edge of the desk before clattering onto the hard floor. The sound was insignificant in the large hall, barely a tap, but to me it sounded like a gunshot. I froze, mortified. I didn't want to draw attention. I didn't want to be the girl who dropped her pen in the middle of a lecture. I began to lean down to retrieve it, hoping to do so quickly and silently. Before my fingers could even graze the linoleum, a hand appeared in my vision. It was slender, elegant, with manicured nails that looked sharp enough to cut. I stopped moving, my breath catching in my throat. I knew that hand. I knew the silver ring on the index finger. I slowly straightened up, and there she was. Elena had turned in her seat, twisting her upper body completely around to face me, ignoring the professor entirely. The class didn't notice. They were all looking forward. But I was locked in her orbit. She held my pen between her thumb and forefinger, dangling it casually. Her eyes, usually hidden by the glare of her lenses, were visible now. They were dark, intense, and focused solely on me. There was no annoyance in her expression, no judgment for the disruption. Instead, there was a hunger that made my stomach flip. She didn't hand the pen to me immediately. He held it there between us, a bridge made of plastic and ink. "You're clumsy today, Mia," she said. Her voice was low, a velvet whisper that shouldn't have carried over the distance, yet it reached me with perfect clarity. It wasn't a question. It was a statement of fact, as if she had been tracking my coordination all morning. I'm sorry," I stammered, my face heating up. I could feel the blush creeping up my neck, burning my ears. I reached out to take the pen, my fingers brushing against hers. Her skin was cool, contrasting with the fire rushing through my veins. She didn't let go immediately. For a second, her fingers tightened around mine, just enough to hold me there, to prevent me from pulling away. It was a subtle constraint, a silent claim. "Be careful," she whispered, leaning in slightly. The scent of her drifted toward me. Clean linen, rain, and something uniquely sweet like vanilla orchids. It was intoxicating. "I'm watching." The words sent a shiver down my spine that had nothing to do with the cold draft from the window. "I'm watching." It should have been creepy. It should have made me want to pull away and report her. But the way she said it, with such devoted intensity, made my heart hammer against my ribs like a trapped bird. She finally released the pen, letting it slide into my palm. Her touch lingered on my skin for a fraction of a second longer than necessary before she turned back around. She faced the front again, posture perfect, as if nothing had happened. As if she hadn't just short-circuited my entire nervous system. I stared at the back of her head, my hand clutching the pen so tightly my knuckles turned white. I tried to return to my notes, but the words on the page were meaningless. All I could think about was the pressure of her fingers and the weight of her promise. The rest of the lecture passed in a blur. When the bell finally rang, signaling the end of the class, students began to pack up, chatter filling the room. I moved slowly, stuffing my notebook into my bag with shaking hands. I needed to leave. I needed air. But as I stood up, I noticed something on my desk. A small, folded piece of paper had appeared there, seemingly out of nowhere. I glanced around, but Elena was already at the front of the room, speaking with the professor. She hadn't come back to my desk. My curiosity got the better of me. I unfolded the paper. It was a schedule. My schedule. It listed my classes for the week, but someone had circled the times I had free periods. Next to Tuesday's free period, written in elegant, sharp handwriting, were the words, "Library. 2 p.m. Don't be late." I stared at the paper, my breath hitching. I hadn't shared this schedule with anyone. I kept it in my planner, hidden in my bag. How did she know? The realization settled over me like a heavy blanket. The gaze I had felt all semester wasn't paranoia. It wasn't imagination. Elena knew where I was going to be before I even got there. She wasn't just watching me in class, she was tracking me. I looked up at the front of the room again. Elena turned her head just slightly, catching my eye through the crowd of departing students. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. She simply adjusted her glasses, a small knowing tilt to her head. She knew I had found the note. She knew I was reading it. And she knew that I wasn't running away. I should have been terrified. The logical part of my brain was screaming warnings, flashing red lights about boundaries and privacy. But the other part of me, the part that had felt lonely and invisible for so long, felt something else. It felt seen. For the first time in my life, someone was looking at me and seeing nothing else. The world around us faded into gray static, leaving only the sharp, vibrant focus of her attention. I slipped the note into my pocket, feeling the paper burn against my thigh. I walked out of the lecture hall into the hallway, the sound of the rain still echoing in my ears. The air was cooler here, but I was still flushed. I could still feel the ghost of her touch on my fingers. As I walked toward the exit, I passed a mirror on the wall. I stopped for a moment to look at myself. I looked the same as I always did. Same messy hair, same oversized sweater. But my eyes looked different. They looked wider, alert, alive. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. Tuesday was 2 days away. I had time to think, time to rationalize, time to decide if I should ignore the note. But as I stepped out into the rain, opening my umbrella, I already knew the answer. I wasn't going to ignore it. I was going to be there. Because the terrifying truth wasn't that she was obsessed with me. The terrifying truth was that I liked it. I liked knowing that in a university of thousands of students, the perfect class representative only had eyes for me. The rain fell harder as I walked toward the dorms, but I didn't mind the cold. The heat of her gaze was enough to keep me warm all the way home. I clutched my bag tighter, protecting the secret note inside, a smile tugging at the corners of my lips despite the fear. The game had begun, and whether I wanted to admit it or not, I was already a player. Elena had made her move, and now the ball was in my court. But I had a feeling she had already planned out every move I was going to make. And strangely, I couldn't wait to see if she was right. The hallway leading to the faculty administration office was unnervingly quiet. It was late afternoon, the time when most students were rushing to the cafeteria or heading back to the dorms, but this wing of the building felt suspended in time. The fluorescent lights hummed with a low, persistent buzz that seemed to vibrate in my teeth. I stood before the dark wood door labeled Class Representatives and Student Council, my hand hovering over the knob. My heart was doing that same frantic rhythm from yesterday, a drumbeat of anxiety and something else I wasn't ready to name. I had received the email only 10 minutes ago. Subject line: attendance discrepancy. It was from Elena. The body of the message was brief, commanding me to report to her office immediately to resolve a missing mark from yesterday's lecture. I knew it was a lie. I had been there. I had signed the sheet. But arguing with the class representative was futile. And honestly, a part of me didn't want to argue. After the note in my pocket yesterday, the one promising she was watching, I felt tethered to her. Ignoring her summons felt impossible, like trying to ignore gravity. That I took a deep breath, smoothing the front of my sweater, and knocked. 3 sharp raps. "Enter," came the voice. It was smooth, devoid of the stress that usually plagued student leaders. It sounded like she had been waiting for me specifically. I turned the handle and stepped inside. The office was spacious, lined with bookshelves filled with binders and ledgers. The air smelled of old paper and cleaning solution, but underneath that, I caught the faint trace of her scent again. Vanilla and rain. It was stronger here, as if she had saturated the room with her presence. Elena was sitting behind the large desk, typing on a laptop. She didn't look up immediately. She let me stand there for a moment, letting the silence stretch until it became heavy, pressing against my eardrums. "Close the door, Mia," she said, still typing. I obeyed, pushing the door until it clicked shut. The sound echoed loudly in the small space. "Come here," she commanded, finally lifting her head. I walked toward the desk, my shoes squeaking slightly on the polished floor. I stopped on the other side of the desk, keeping the wood between us like a barrier. Elena leaned back in her chair, interlacing her fingers. She looked immaculate. Her blazer was buttoned, her hair perfectly tied back. But her eyes, behind those glasses, they were dark pools of intent. "You missed a signature yesterday," she stated, sliding a clipboard across the desk. "I didn't," I said, my voice quieter than I intended. "I was in the 3rd row. I signed it." Elena smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was a small, curved movement of her lips that didn't reach her eyes. "Did you? The sheet shows a gap. And I can't have my records incomplete. It reflects poorly on me." She stood up. The movement was fluid, predatory. She walked around the desk, her heels clicking rhythmically against the floor. I instinctively took a step back, but my hips hit the edge of a visitor's chair. I was trapped between the chair and her. She didn't stop until she was standing right in front of me, close enough that I could see the reflection of my own nervous face in her lenses. "Let me check again," she said softly. She reached past me, not for the clipboard but for the door behind me. I heard the distinct sound of a lock turning. My breath hitched. "Elena? What are you doing?" "Privacy," she answered simply. "We wouldn't want anyone interrupting our extra credit session." She turned back to me, eliminating the last bit of personal space. She placed her hands on the arms of the chair I was backed against, caging me in. I was sitting now, though I didn't remember sitting down. She loomed over me, her presence overwhelming. The air in the room seemed to vanish, leaving only the oxygen between our lips. "You're trembling," she observed. Her voice had dropped an octave, losing its professional edge entirely. It was intimate now, meant only for my ears. "It's cold in here," I lied. "It's not," she countered. She leaned down, bringing her face level with mine. I could see the flecks of gold in her brown irises. "You're nervous because you know why you're really here." I don't. Don't you?" She reached out, her fingers brushing a stray lock of hair away from my forehead. Her touch was electric, sending a jolt straight to my chest. "You felt me yesterday. In the lecture hall. You felt me watching you." I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up. All I could do was nod, a tiny jerky movement. "Good," she whispered. "I want you to feel it always. I want you to know that wherever you are, I know. I know what time you wake up. I know what you eat for lunch. I know when you're lonely." The confession should have sent me running. It was invasive, intrusive. But the way she said it, with such raw devotion, made my knees weak. It wasn't a threat, it was a vow. "Why?" I managed to whisper. Elena didn't answer with words. Instead, she moved closer, invading my personal space completely. She leaned over my shoulder, her chest pressing against my back. I could feel the warmth of her body seeping through my sweater. It was solid, real. Her breath tickled the sensitive skin of my neck, causing goosebumps to rise along my arms. "Because you're mine," she murmured against my skin. "And I take care of what's mine." She stayed there for a moment, just breathing me in. I sat frozen, caught between the urge to push her away and the desperate desire to lean back into her. Her hand came up to rest on my shoulder, her fingers digging in slightly, possessive and firm. "You smell like vanilla," she said, her voice thick. "It's distracting me, Mia. Do you know how hard it is to focus on economics when all I can think about is how much I want to bury my face in your neck?" My face burned. I could feel the blush spreading down my chest, hidden by my clothes. "Elena." Shoo, she hushed me. Her hand moved from my shoulder to my cheek, turning my face slightly so I was looking up at her. Don't speak. Just listen. I'm not going to hurt you. I would never hurt you. But I need you to understand that. Rules. Rules. I breathed. Rule 1, she said, her thumb tracing my lower lip. You don't let other people get this close. Rule 2, you don't hide from me. And Rule 3. She paused, her gaze dropping to my lips. When I call you come. Just like you did today. She pulled back slightly, just enough to look me in the eyes again. The intensity was staggering. It was like staring into the sun. Your attendance record is fine, by the way, she said, her tone shifting back to casual as if she hadn't just rewritten the boundaries of my life. I just needed to see you. She straightened up, adjusting her blazer. The sudden return to professionalism was whiplash-inducing. She walked back around the desk, sitting down as if nothing had happened. She picked up her pen and tapped it on the desk. You can go now, Mia. But don't forget Tuesday. The library. 2 p.m. She remembered the note. She was connecting the events. Okay, I said, my voice shaky. I stood up, my legs feeling like jelly. I walked to the door, my hand trembling as I reached for the lock. I turned it, the click sounding much louder this time. I opened the door and stepped out into the hallway. The cool air hit my flushed face, but it didn't cool the heat burning inside me. I walked away quickly, not looking back, but I could feel her eyes on me until I turned the corner. My hand went to my neck where her breath had been. The skin still tingled. I touched my lip where her thumb had traced. I should have been running. I should have been reporting this to the administration. But as I walked down the quiet hallway, all I could think about was Tuesday. All I could think about was being alone with her again. The fear was there, yes, but it was tangled up with something dangerous and sweet. She had marked me. And God help me, I wanted to be marked. The hallway seemed longer on the way out. The fluorescent lights buzzed louder. I clutched my bag to my chest, protecting the secret that was growing inside me. Elena wasn't just watching anymore. He was touching. He was claiming. And with every step I took away from that office, the distance felt like too much. I wanted to go back. I wanted to lock the door again. I reached the stairwell and paused, leaning against the cold wall. I closed my eyes and exhaled, trying to steady my breathing. But all I could smell was vanilla. All I could feel was her hands. The game was escalating. Chapter 1 was observation. Chapter 2 was contact. I didn't know what Chapter 3 held, but I knew one thing for certain. I was no longer invisible. I was seen. I was known. And I was hers. That I pushed off the wall and started walking again, faster this time. I needed to get back to my dorm. I needed to wash my face, change my clothes, anything to reset. But I knew it wouldn't work. The scent of her was on me, invisible but undeniable. I walked out of the building into the evening air. The rain had stopped, leaving the pavement wet and reflective. I caught my reflection in a puddle. I looked different. My eyes were darker, my posture straighter. I pulled my phone out. No new messages. But I knew one was coming. She would want to know I got back safely. She would want to know what I was doing. I typed a message before I could stop myself. I'm back at the dorm. I hit send. 3 dots appeared immediately. She was waiting. Good girl, the reply came. Rest well. I'll be dreaming of you. I locked my phone and shoved it into my pocket. My heart raced again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was anticipation. The line between stalker and lover was blurring, and I was standing right on the edge, looking down. It was a long drop, but Elena was waiting at the bottom to catch me. I started walking toward the dorms, the rhythm of my steps matching the beat of my heart. 1 step, 2 steps closer to her. Always closer. The campus lights flickered on as dusk settled, casting long shadows. I walked through them, no longer afraid of the dark. Because I knew who was watching me in the shadows. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of the dark. I was afraid of the light, because the light meant she couldn't see me as clearly. I reached my dorm room and locked the door behind me. I leaned against it, sliding down to the floor. I pulled my knees to my chest and buried my face in my arms. I could still feel the ghost of her hands on my shoulders. Only me, I whispered to the empty room. It was a promise. And it was a threat. And it was the most exciting thing that had ever happened to me. I lay back on the floor, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow was another day. Another class. Another chance for her to look at me. I closed my eyes, and in the darkness behind my lids I saw her. smiling, waiting, watching. The night stretched out before me, long and quiet. But I wasn't lonely. Not anymore. I had her attention. And that was enough to keep me warm until morning. Tuesday arrived with a sky the color of bruised iron. The air pressure had dropped so significantly that my ears popped every time I climbed a flight of stairs, a physical reminder of the storm brewing overhead. I stood outside the university library, checking my watch for the third time in a minute. It was 1:55 p.m. 5 minutes early. I told myself it was because I was punctual, because I was a responsible student, but the lie tasted like copper on my tongue. I was early because I was eager. After the events of the last few days, the pen, the note, the locked office door, I should have been avoiding Elena. I should have been finding reasons to skip class, to take different routes across campus. Instead, I was standing in the damp chill of the autumn wind, waiting to be summoned into her orbit once again. The library loomed above me, a brutalist structure of concrete and glass that usually felt imposing. Today it looked like a fortress, a sanctuary. I pushed open the heavy doors and stepped into the warmth. The smell of old books and polished wood welcomed me, a stark contrast to the ozone scent of the coming rain outside. The main hall was bustling with students seeking shelter from the weather, but my eyes went immediately to the study tables in the back corner. He was there. Elena sat alone at a large wooden table, surrounded by stacks of books that formed a wall around her. She wasn't reading. She was watching the entrance. As soon as I stepped over the threshold, her head lifted. She knew I was there before I even saw her face as I walked toward her, my boots squeaking on the linoleum. The sound seemed to draw attention, but Elena's gaze cut through the noise, isolating us in a bubble of silence. She wore a different blazer today, a deep charcoal gray that made her skin look porcelain pale. Her glasses were perched on the tip of her nose, and she pushed them up as I approached. "You're early," she said. It wasn't a rebuke. It sounded like praise. "I didn't want to keep you waiting," I replied, sliding into the chair opposite her. "There is no need to worry about keeping me waiting, Mia," she said, closing the book in front of her. "I would wait forever if I knew you were coming." The statement hung in the air, heavy and absolute. I opened my bag, pulling out my notebooks to create a barrier between us, but the space felt insignificant. Under the table, I felt the brush of her knee against mine. She didn't move away. She pressed closer, a constant, warm pressure against my leg. I tried to focus on my textbook, but the words swam before my eyes. The library was quiet, save for the turning of pages and the distant hum of the HVAC system. But outside, the wind was picking up. I could hear it whistling against the high windows, a mournful sound that made the interior feel even more secluded. That we studied in silence for an hour, but it wasn't the comfortable silence of friends. It was the charged silence of two people aware of every breath the other took. Every time I turned a page, Elena's eyes flicked to my hands. Every time I shifted in my seat, her posture adjusted to match me. It was a dance of synchronization. I felt hyper-aware of her presence, like a second heartbeat syncing with my own. Then the lights flickered. It was subtle at first, a dimming of the fluorescent tubes overhead that made everyone look up. A murmur went through the room. "Storm's getting worse," someone whispered nearby. As if on cue, the sky opened up. The rain didn't just fall. It hammered against the glass, a violent drumming that drowned out all other sound. The wind howled, shaking the window frames. Students began to pack up, realizing the severity of the weather. The librarian made an announcement over the intercom, her voice crackling with static. "Due to severe weather conditions, the library will be closing early. Please gather your belongings and exit safely." Panic rippled through the room. People rushed to gather their things, heading for the exits. I started to pack my bag, but Elena's hand landed on my wrist. Her grip was firm, stopping me instantly. "Don't," she said. "The library is closing," I said, looking at her confused. "Let them leave," she replied calmly. She didn't look at the fleeing students. She only looked at me. "It's not safe out there. The power will go soon. We should stay where it's dry." "But the staff." "I spoke to the librarian," Elena interrupted. "She's a friend of the faculty. She knows I'm staying to oversee student safety. You're with me. You're safe." The authority in her voice was absolute. Before I could argue, the lights flickered again, violently this time, and then died. The library plunged into semi-darkness, illuminated only by the gray light filtering through the rain-streaked windows. Emergency lights kicked in along the floor, casting long, eerie shadows up the bookshelves. The sudden darkness drew a gasp from the few remaining students, but Elena didn't flinch. She stood up, moving around the table with practiced ease. "Give me your hand," she said. I hesitated for a fraction of a second before placing my hand in hers. Her palm was warm, dry, and steady. She laced her fingers through mine, interlocking us. "Stay close. The stacks are narrow in the dark." She led me away from the main tables, deeper into the labyrinth of bookshelves. Her hand moved from mine to the small of my back, guiding me forward. The touch was possessive, steering me through the gloom. I stumbled slightly on an uneven patch of carpet, and her arm tightened around me, holding me upright against her side. "I've got you," she murmured into my ear. "I won't let you fall." We found a secluded alcove near the reference section, a space shielded by tall encyclopedias on both sides. Felt like a room within a room. Elena shrugged off her blazer and draped it over the back of a chair, then turned to me. The emergency lights cast her face in sharp relief, highlighting the sharp line of her jaw and the intensity of her eyes. She looked less like a student now and more like a guardian. Or a captor. The line was blurring with every beat of the thunder outside. "Sit," she instructed gently. I sat on the plush armchair provided for researchers. She crouched in front of me, bringing her eyes level with mine. The distance between us was negligible. I could see the raindrops caught in her hair where she had run through the storm earlier to get here. "You canceled your ride," I said suddenly. The realization hit me. "You knew this storm was coming. You knew we'd be trapped." Elena didn't deny it. She reached up, her fingers tracing the line of my jaw. "I checked the weather report this morning. I knew the buses would stop running. I knew everyone would leave. So you planned this?" My voice trembled. "I planned for your safety," she corrected, her thumb brushing my lower lip. "I couldn't let you walk home in this. What if you slipped? What if someone bothered you? I couldn't risk it." "It's controlling, Elena," I whispered, though I didn't pull away from her touch. "It's caring," she countered softly. "There is a difference. Control is about power. This is about protection. I don't want anyone else seeing you like this. Vulnerable. Wet from the rain. Shivering." She stood up then, reaching for her face. She took off her glasses. I had never seen her without them. Without the frames, her face looked softer, younger, but her eyes were nakedly intense. There was no barrier between us now. She folded the glasses and placed them in her pocket, then stepped between my knees. She placed her hands on my shoulders, her thumbs pressing into the tension there. "You're so tense," she said. "Relax, Mia. You're with me. Nothing can hurt you here." "I feel like I'm in a cage," I admitted, the truth slipping out before I could stop it. Elena's expression didn't change. She didn't get angry. She just leaned in, resting her forehead against mine. I could feel her breath, warm and steady. "If this is a cage," she whispered, "then I am in it with you." I locked the door from the inside. "Mia, I'm not leaving you either." The honesty of it stole the air from my lungs. It wasn't just obsession. It was solidarity. She was isolating herself with me. The thunder crashed overhead, shaking the floor beneath us, but in this little alcove there was only stillness. I looked into her eyes, searching for madness, but I only found devotion. It was terrifying because it was so complete. She had carved out a space in the world just for us, and she had filled it with her attention. I reached up, my hands finding the lapels of her shirt. I shouldn't have. I knew I shouldn't have. But the cold of the library was seeping into my bones, and she was the only source of heat. I pulled her closer. She made a low sound in her throat, a vibration I felt in my chest. "Tell me to stop," she said, her voice rough. "Tell me you want me to leave and I will walk out into that storm right now." I looked at the dark windows, at the rain lashing against the glass. Then I looked at her, bare-eyed and waiting. "Don't go," I whispered. The relief that washed over her face was palpable. She closed her eyes for a moment, exhaling sharply. When she opened them, the darkness in them had softened into something warmer. She leaned down and pressed a kiss to my forehead, lingering there. It wasn't passionate, it was reverent. A benediction. "Good," she breathed against my skin. "Stay here. I'll get us some water from the break room. Don't move." I won't, I promised. She walked away into the shadows of the stacks, her silhouette disappearing into the gloom. I sat alone in the emergency light, listening to the storm. I should have been planning my escape. I should have been checking my phone for signal. But I sat still, wrapped in the scent of her blazer that she had left on the chair. I touched my forehead where she had kissed me. The skin tingled. The library was dark, the world outside was chaotic, and I was trapped with a girl who knew my schedule better than I did. By all accounts, I should have been scared. But as I listened to her footsteps returning steady and sure, I realized I wasn't afraid of the storm anymore. I was afraid of the moment when the rain would stop and we would have to leave this shelter. Because out there I was just Mia. But in here, in the dark, with her glasses off and her guard down, I was everything to her. She returned with 2 bottles of water, handing one to me. She sat on the arm of my chair, close enough that our thighs touched. We didn't speak. We just listened to the rain. It was a heavy, rhythmic sound that wrapped around us like a blanket. Time seemed to lose its meaning. Minutes stretched into hours. The emergency lights buzzed softly. "Elena?" I asked after a long while. "Yes, Mia?" "Why me?" She turned to look at me, her profile sharp against the dim light. She took a moment to answer, choosing her words with care. "Because you look," she said finally. "Everyone else looks through me. They see the class representative, they see the grades. They see the utility. But you, when you look at me, I see you seeing me. And I never want to look away." It was the most honest thing she had ever said. It stripped away the possessiveness and left only the longing. I took a sip of water, my hand shaking slightly. She covered my hand with hers, stilling the tremor. "Drink," she commanded softly. "You need to stay hydrated." I drank. She watched my throat move. The gaze was heavy, but it didn't feel like weight anymore. It felt like an anchor. The storm raged on outside, but inside the stacks, the air was still. We sat together in the semi-darkness, 2 figures in a world of shadows. I leaned my head against her shoulder, exhausted by the emotional turbulence of the day. She stiffened for a second, surprised by the contact, then relaxed, wrapping an arm around me. She pulled me into her side, tucking me against her. "Sleep," she whispered. "I'll watch." And I knew she would. He would watch the doors. He would watch the windows. She would watch me. I closed my eyes, listening to the steady beat of her heart. It was a slow, strong rhythm that countered the chaos of the thunder. I drifted off, not into a deep sleep but into a doze, safe in the knowledge that when I opened my eyes she would still be there. The library was cold, but her arm around me was warm. The world was loud, but her breathing was quiet. In that moment, trapped in the dark with my Yandere class rep, I realized I didn't want to be found. I wanted to stay lost in her eyes. The rain continued to pour, sealing us in our own private world, and for the first time I didn't wish for the sun to come out. Let it rain. Let the world drown. As long as I had her shelter, I was safe. I woke to the sound of silence. The thunder had stopped, the wind had died down, and the violent drumming against the library windows was replaced by a gentle, rhythmic dripping. I opened my eyes, disoriented for a moment, before the memory of the storm rushed back. I was still in the library alcove, curled into the plush armchair. But I wasn't alone. Elena was still there, sitting on the floor beside me, her back against the bookshelf, watching me. She hadn't slept. Her eyes were bright, alert, fixed on my face with that same unwavering intensity from the lecture hall. "You're awake," she said softly. Her voice was rough with sleeplessness, but warm. "How long was I out?" I asked, sitting up and rubbing my eyes. 2 hours, she replied. She stood up, offering me a hand. Her grip was firm, pulling me to my feet with ease. "The storm has passed. But the roads are flooded. The buses aren't running yet." I looked at my phone. No signal. The battery was low. Panic fluttered in my chest. "I need to get back to the dorms." "Your dorms are across campus," Elena said, picking up her bag. "It's a 20-minute walk in the best conditions. Right now it's a hazard. You're coming with me." It wasn't a question. It was a statement of fact, delivered with such calm authority that resistance felt futile. Besides, the thought of walking alone in the dark, wet aftermath of the storm didn't appeal to me. Not when I had the option of safety. Not when I had the option of her. We left the library through the side exit, where the janitor was mopping up a puddle. He nodded at Elena, a look of familiarity passing between them. She led me to a parked car near the staff lot. A sleek silver sedan that looked as immaculate as she did. She opened the passenger door for me, waiting until I was seated before closing it. The drive was short, only 10 minutes, but the silence in the car was heavy. I watched the rain-streaked streets blur past, my reflection ghostly in the window. Elena drove with one hand, the other resting on the gear shift, close enough that our knuckles occasionally brushed. She didn't turn on the radio. She didn't speak. She just drove, focused entirely on the road, yet I felt her attention on me like a physical weight. We arrived at a complex off-campus, a modern building with glass balconies and secure entry. Elena swiped a key card and held the door for me. We took the elevator to the 4th floor. When she unlocked the door to her apartment, I expected something cold, sterile like her office. Yet the space was warm. It smelled of lavender and old paper. The lights were dimmed, casting a golden glow over the hardwood floors. There were plants everywhere, lush green vines climbing the walls, potted ferns on every surface. It felt alive. "Take off your shoes," Elena said, toeing off her own heels. "Make yourself at home." I stepped onto the wood floor, feeling the warmth seep through my socks. The apartment was tidy, almost obsessively so. Every book on the shelves was aligned perfectly. Every cushion on the sofa was fluffed to identical dimensions. It was a reflection of her mind. Organized, controlled, precise. "Your clothes are wet," she observed, turning to face me. "You'll catch a cold. I have something you can wear." She walked to a bedroom door and disappeared inside. I stood in the living room, feeling like an intruder in a shrine. I walked over to the bookshelf, running my finger along the spines. They were all academic texts mostly, but on the bottom shelf there was a stack of sketchbooks. I hesitated, then pulled one out. "Don't touch those," Elena's voice came from the doorway. I jumped, dropping the book back onto the shelf. She was standing there holding a bundle of white fabric. She didn't look angry, just protective. "Sorry," I muttered. "It's okay," she said, walking toward me. "That one isn't for you." "Not yet." She held out the clothes. "Here. It's a shirt. It will be big, but it's dry." I took the fabric. It was a white button-down, crisp and clean. "Thank you." "The bathroom is down the hall," she pointed. "Take your time. I'll make tea." I escaped to the bathroom, locking the door behind me. I leaned against the wood, exhaling a breath I didn't know I was holding. The room was spotless, the mirror gleaming. I caught my reflection. I looked messy, my hair damp, my eyes wide. I stripped off my wet clothes, shivering as the cool air hit my skin. When I pulled on Elena's shirt, it swallowed me. The sleeves hung past my hands, the hem reached my mid-thigh. But it smelled like her. That vanilla and linen scent was embedded in the fibers. I buried my face in the collar for a second, inhaling deeply before stepping out into the hallway. The kitchen was open to the living room. Elena was standing by the stove, pouring hot water into 2 mugs. She turned when she heard me. Her eyes darkened as they swept over me. I was wearing her clothes. I was in her space. I was wearing her scent. "It fits," she said, her voice low. "It's huge," I replied, pulling the sleeves over my hands. "It looks better on you," she said simply. She handed me a mug. "Chamomile. It will help you sleep." We sat on the sofa. It was large, leather, comfortable. We sat on opposite ends, but the distance felt illusory. The air between us crackled. I took a sip of the tea, letting the warmth spread through my chest. "Elena," I started, setting the mug down on the coffee table. "About today. About the library." "What about it?" She looked at me over the rim of her cup. "You planned it," I said. "You knew the storm was coming. You knew we'd be stuck." She set her cup down slowly. "I did." "Why?" "Because I wanted time with you," she said. "Time without interruptions. Without classmates. Without professors. Just us." "It's intense," I said, choosing my words carefully. "Knowing you know my schedule. Knowing you were watching me in the library. Sometimes it feels like..." "Like what?" She leaned forward, resting her elbows on her knees. "Like I'm being hunted," I admitted. The words hung in the air, sharp and honest. Elena didn't flinch. She didn't look away. "And does that frighten you?" "Yes," I whispered. "But not enough to leave." She smiled, then a small, sad smile. "I know. If you wanted to leave, you would have run when I locked the office door." You would have screamed when I touched you in the library. But you didn't. You stayed. She stood up and walked over to the bookshelf where I had tried to touch the sketchbooks earlier. She picked up the top one and brought it back to the coffee table. She placed it between us. You wanted to see, she said. So look. I hesitated, then opened the cover. My breath caught. It wasn't academic notes. It was me. Page after page was filled with sketches of me. Mia in the lecture hall looking out the window. Mia walking across the quad, head down. Mia sleeping in the library just an hour ago. The drawings were intricate, detailed, capturing the curve of my jaw, the way my hair fell, the expression in my eyes. Some were pencil, some charcoal, some ink. But they were all me. I draw when I can't look, Elena said quietly. When you're too far away, I draw you so I don't forget. I turned the page. There was a sketch of me holding the pen she had given me in chapter 1. The date in the corner was from 3 weeks ago. You've been doing this for months, I said, my voice trembling. Since the first day of class, she confirmed. You sat in the 3rd row. You wore a blue sweater. You dropped your eraser and you blushed when the professor looked at you. I knew then. Knew what? That you were the only thing that mattered. I closed the book. My hands were shaking. This was beyond admiration. This was obsession. It was a visual diary of my life, curated by her eyes. Isn't this too much? I asked, looking up at her. Isn't this unhealthy? Elena reached out, covering my shaking hands with hers. Her skin was warm, grounding. Love is unhealthy, Mia, she said. It's a sickness. It's a fever. You lose sleep. You lose appetite. You lose focus on everything except the object of your affection. I am just honest about my sickness. But I'm just a person, I said. I'm not perfect. I'm messy. I'm forgetful. I'm not worth this. You are wrong, she said fiercely. She tightened her grip on my hands. You are worth everything. You are the only color in a world that is gray. Do you think I do this because I want to control you? I do this because I am afraid. Afraid. I echoed. Afraid that if I look away you'll disappear, she whispered. Afraid that if I don't memorize every detail of you I'll lose you. So yes, I watch. Yes, I draw. Yes, I know your schedule. Because I need to know you're safe. I need to know you're real. The confession stripped away the creepiness and left only the raw vulnerability underneath. She wasn't a predator, she was a devotee. And I was the idol. It was a heavy burden, but looking at her, really looking at her without the glasses, without the title of class rep, I saw the fear in her eyes. She was terrified of losing me. I'm not going to disappear, I said softly. You can't promise that, she replied. People leave. People change. I'm not leaving, I said. I turned my hands over, interlacing my fingers with hers. Not tonight. Elena let out a breath she seemed to have been holding for weeks. Her shoulders dropped. The tension in her frame eased. Thank you, she said. She stood up and pulled me with her. Come on. You need to sleep. The guest room is made up. I don't want the guest room, I said. The words slipped out before I could censor them. Elena stopped. She turned to look at me, searching my face. Where do you want to sleep? Here, I said, gesturing to the sofa. With you. She didn't argue. She sat back down and pulled me with her. I settled against her side, resting my head on her shoulder. She wrapped an arm around me, pulling a blanket over us. You're playing with fire, Mia, she murmured into my hair. I know, I replied, closing my eyes. But I'm warm. We sat in silence for a long time. The apartment was quiet, the only sound the hum of the refrigerator and the distant traffic of the city waking up after the storm. I could feel Elena's heartbeat against my back, steady and strong. It was a rhythm I was starting to recognize. Elena. Will you draw me again? She kissed the top of my head. Every day. If you let me. I'll let you, I whispered. It was a dangerous agreement. I was giving her permission to watch, to document, to obsess. I was handing her the keys to my privacy. But as I drifted toward sleep, surrounded by her scent, wrapped in her shirt, held in her arms, I didn't feel trapped. I felt chosen. The sketchbook lay on the table, closed but present. A testament to what she felt. A map of her devotion. I knew tomorrow would bring complications. I knew the world outside this apartment would judge us. They would call it unhealthy. They would call it wrong. But in the dim light of her living room, with the storm past and the silence holding us tight, it felt like the only thing that was right. I fell asleep with her hand resting on my waist, anchoring me to her. And for the first time in my life, I didn't dream of running. I dreamed of staying. I dreamed of being seen. I dreamed of being the only thing in her eyes. The night stretched on, deep and quiet. Elena didn't sleep. I could feel her staying awake, watching over me, guarding my rest. She was the sentinel at the gate of my dreams. And I was safe. I was loved. I was hers. The tea had gone cold, but I was warm. The world was chaotic, but this room was still. I surrendered to the sleep, knowing that when I woke she would still be there. The confession was over. The understanding was reached. Now there was only the quiet intimacy of two people who had found each other in the storm. I slept deeply without nightmares. Because the monster wasn't under the bed. The monster was holding me, and she was gentle. He was careful. He was mine. And as the first light of dawn began to creep through the blinds, painting the room in shades of gray and gold, I knew that my life had changed forever. I was no longer the invisible girl in the third row. I was the muse. I was the focus. I was the obsession. And I wouldn't have it any other way. The sun rose, but we stayed in the shadows of the blanket. Time didn't matter. Only this moment. Only this breath. Only her. I shifted slightly and her arm tightened instinctively. Even in wakefulness she held on. Sleep, she whispered again, sensing me stir. I murmured. Good. And that was all. No more words were needed. The sketchbook said enough. The shirt said enough. The hand on my waist said everything. I drifted back into the dark, safe in the knowledge that I was the only thing she saw. Dawn broke slowly, painting the living room in shades of pale gray and soft gold. The light filtered through the blinds, cutting across the floor in striped patterns that crept closer to the sofa where we lay. I woke gradually, awareness returning in layers. First the smell, vanilla and clean linen. Then the warmth, heavy and solid against my back. Finally, the feeling of being held. Elena's arm was still draped over my waist, her hand resting flat against my stomach, rising and falling with my breath. She was awake. I could feel the tension in her muscles, the alertness in her posture even as she lay still. She had been watching me sleep again. I didn't move. I didn't pull away. Instead, I leaned back into her, testing the weight of her hold. She tightened her grip immediately, a reflexive pull that brought my spine flush against her chest. Her breath hitched against the back of my neck, warm and uneven. The silence of the apartment was different now. It wasn't the quiet of the storm anymore. It was the quiet of anticipation. The air felt thick, charged with the unspoken things that had shifted between us during the night. The sketchbook on the table, the shirt on my body, the confession in the dark. It had all led to this moment. The boundary we had been dancing around was gone. There was only the space between our skin. Mia, she whispered. Her voice was rough, sleep-heavy but clear. I'm awake, I replied softly. Good. She didn't let go. If anything, her hand slid slightly higher, her fingers splaying against the fabric of the shirt. You stayed. I told you I would. I know. She paused. I could feel her heart beating against my back faster than before. But knowing and feeling are different things. I turned in her arms. It was a slow movement, giving her time to pull away if she wanted to. He didn't. She allowed me to turn until I was facing her. The morning light caught her face, softening the sharp angles of her jaw. Her glasses were still on the coffee table, leaving her eyes bare and vulnerable. She looked at me with a hunger that was no longer hidden behind professionalism or pretense. It was raw. It was naked. You're beautiful, she said. It wasn't a compliment. It was an observation. Even now. Especially now. I felt the heat rise in my cheeks, but I didn't look away. Elena. Can I? She asked. Her hand moved to my cheek, hovering just inches from my skin. She waited. She didn't touch until I nodded. Yes, I whispered, her palm settled against my face, her thumb tracing the line of my cheekbone. Her touch was reverent, like she was handling something fragile. But there was strength in it too. Underlying current of possession that made my breath catch. She leaned in slowly, giving me every chance to stop her. I didn't. I lifted my chin. When her lips met mine, it wasn't gentle. It was desperate. It was the culmination of weeks of staring, of watching, of waiting. She kissed me with an intensity that stole the air from my lungs. Her mouth was hot, demanding yet carefully controlled. She tasted like tea and mint and something uniquely Elena. I made a small sound in my throat and she responded by deepening the kiss, her hand tangling in my hair to hold me in place. It wasn't just a kiss. It was a claim. She was marking me, sealing the promise she had made in the library. I could feel the vibration of her voice against my lips as she murmured against my mouth. Mine, she breathed. You're mine. The word should have felt heavy, restrictive. But in the warmth of the morning light, with her hands holding me like I was the only solid thing in the world, it felt like safety. Felt like belonging. I wrapped my arms around her neck, pulling her closer, eliminating the last fraction of distance between us. I wanted to be closer. I wanted to be inside her orbit completely. She shifted, moving over me on the sofa, careful not to put her full weight on me but caging me in nonetheless. Her knees bracketed my hips. Her hands pinned my wrists gently against the cushions. I looked up at her, my breath coming in short gasps. Her eyes were dark, the pupils blown wide. Tell me to stop, she said again, her voice strained. Tell me now, Mia. Before I forget how to let go. I don't want you to stop, I said. The honesty of it surprised me. I wasn't saying it to placate her. I meant it. I wanted this. I wanted her obsession. I wanted to be the sole focus of her world. Elena let out a shaky breath. She lowered her head, pressing her forehead against mine. Okay, she whispered. Okay. She kissed me again, slower this time. Her lips moved against mine with a rhythmic patience that matched the beating of my heart. Her hands released my wrists to trace down my arms, leaving trails of fire on my skin. She touched me like she was memorizing me, like she was adding another map to her collection. Her fingers brushed over the pulse point on my wrist, feeling the frantic rhythm there. Your heart is racing, she noted. Because of you, I admitted. Good. She smiled, a small, satisfied curve of her lips. I want to be the only thing that affects you like this. She leaned down, pressing kisses along my jawline down the sensitive column of my neck. I tilted my head back, exposing myself to her. It was an act of surrender, and she accepted it with a low hum of approval. Her lips were hot against my skin, sending shivers down my spine that had nothing to do with the cold morning air. She lingered at the base of my throat, where the collar of her shirt gaped open. You're wearing my shirt, she murmured against my skin. It looks better on you than it ever did on me. It smells like you, I said. That's the point. She kissed the hollow of my throat. I want you to carry my scent everywhere. I want everyone to know. Know what? That you're taken. She lifted her head to look at me again. Her expression was serious, intense. That you're protected. That you're loved. The word hung in the air. It was the first time she had said it. Changed everything. It transformed the obsession from something dark into something bright. It wasn't just possession. It was devotion. I reached up, touching her face, tracing the line of her eyebrow. I love you too, I said. The words felt dangerous, like stepping off a ledge. But I didn't fall. I flew. Elena froze. For a second she didn't move. Then her eyes closed and she exhaled sharply, as if she had been holding her breath for years. When she opened them, there was a sheen of moisture in them. Don't say that unless you mean it, she warned softly. Because I will never let you take it back. I mean it, I said. I mean it. She kissed me again, fiercely this time. It was a kiss of gratitude and relief and overwhelming passion. Her hands moved under the shirt, her palms warm against my skin. I arched into her touch, craving the contact. The world outside the apartment ceased to exist. There was no university, no class, no storm. There was only the sofa, the light, and her. She was careful, always checking. Is this okay? She whispered against my skin. Yes. Here. Yes. Tell me if you want me to stop. I won't. The intimacy grew heavier, deeper. It wasn't about rushing. It was about savoring. Every touch was deliberate. Every kiss was a promise. She explored me with a thoroughness that was almost clinical but fueled by pure emotion. She wanted to know every inch, every reaction, every sound I made. And I let her. I gave her everything. I gave her the sounds she wanted. The responses she craved. I wanted her to know that I was hers just as completely as she was mine. At one point she pulled back, looking down at me with an expression of awe. "You're so perfect," she whispered. "I don't deserve this." "You do," I said, pulling her back down. "You do." We lost track of time. The sun climbed higher, the stripes of light moving across the floor. The apartment remained quiet, save for the sound of our breathing and the occasional rustle of fabric. It was a private universe, sealed off from the rest of the world. In this space, the rules didn't apply. The boundaries between student and rep, between observer and observed, dissolved. We were just two people tangled together, finding solace in each other's arms. When the intensity finally peaked, it wasn't explosive. It was a slow crest, a wave that washed over us and left us breathless. She held me tightly through it, her face buried in my hair, whispering my name like a prayer. "Mia, Mia, Mia." I held her just as tight, my fingers gripping her shirt, anchoring her to me. I wasn't letting go either. Afterward, the silence returned, but it was softer now. Sated. She shifted, pulling me into her side, tucking my head under her chin. Her hand rested on my hip, a constant weight. I closed my eyes, listening to her heartbeat slow down. "Are you okay?" she asked quietly. "I'm more than okay," I replied. I felt boneless, relaxed in a way I hadn't been in years. "Good." He kissed the top of my head. "You need to rest." "We have class," I reminded her, though I made no move to get up. "Let them wait," she said dismissively. "The world can wait. I'm not sharing you yet." "Elena." "Just a little longer," she pleaded softly. "Let me have you a little longer before I have to let them look at you again." I understood. Going back out there meant sharing space with others. It meant her having to watch me from a distance again. Here I was hers completely. "Hey," I agreed. "A little longer." She relaxed against me, her breathing evening out. I lay there, tracing patterns on her arm. The shirt I was wearing was wrinkled now, damp with sweat, but I didn't want to change. I wanted to keep the scent. I wanted to keep the memory. The boundary had been crossed. There was no going back to being just classmates. We were something more now. Something binding. Something permanent. I looked at the sketchbook on the table. It was closed, but I knew what was inside. I knew what she saw when she looked at me. And now, I knew what she felt when she touched me. It was overwhelming. It was intense. It was exactly what I needed. I closed my eyes, drifting back toward sleep in her arms. The sun was fully up now, bright and clear. The storm was gone. But we were still sheltered. We were still safe. "Sleep," she whispered again, sensing my eyelids fluttering. "I've got you." "I know," I murmured. And I did. I knew that no matter what happened outside these walls, inside them I was safe. I was loved. I was hers. The morning stretched on, peaceful and warm. We didn't speak again. We didn't need to. The touch said everything. The hold said everything. I fell asleep with the taste of her still on my lips, and the weight of her arm around me like a shield. And for the first time, I didn't dream of being watched. I dreamed of being held. I dreamed of being kept. I dreamed of home. Because home wasn't a place. It was a person. And she was right here. The light shifted, warming the room. The dust motes danced in the air. We lay still in the center of it all, two islands merged into one continent. I slept deeply without fear. Because the monster wasn't under the bed. The monster was holding me, and she was gentle. He was careful. He was mine. And as the clock on the wall ticked forward, marking the passage of time we were ignoring, I knew that when we finally did get up, things would be different. The campus would look different. The classmates would look different. Because I would be walking through them with her scent on my skin and her claim in my heart. I was no longer invisible. I was illuminated. I slept on, safe in the knowledge that I was the only thing she saw. The walk back to campus felt like crossing a border between two different worlds. Inside Elena's apartment, time had suspended itself. The air was warm, scented with vanilla and safety, and the rules of the outside universe didn't apply. But as we stepped out of the building and into the crisp autumn morning, reality rushed back in. The wind was biting, carrying the chill of the previous day's storm, but I barely felt it. Elena's hand was resting on the small of my back, a steady, warm pressure that anchored me against the cold. It was a possessive touch, subtle enough to pass as friendly to a casual observer, but I knew what it meant. It was a brand. It was a signal that I was wearing my own clothes again, jeans and a sweater, but I felt different. The memory of the morning, of her hands on my skin and her lips on my neck, lingered like a phantom heat. I could still smell her scent on my skin, no matter how much I had tried to wash it off before leaving. It was embedded in me now. Elena walked beside me, her stride confident and purposeful. She didn't hold my hand openly. She knew better than to draw too much attention too quickly. But her presence was a shield. Students parted ways as we approached the university gates, whispers rippling through the crowd like wind through grass. They noticed. Of course they noticed. The class representative, perfect and untouchable Elena, walking in lockstep with the invisible girl from the third row. That I kept my eyes forward, trying to ignore the stares. My heart hammered against my ribs, a familiar rhythm of anxiety. In Chapter 1, this attention would have sent me running. I would have shrunk away, tried to dissolve into the pavement. But now, with the memory of her arm around me in the dark still fresh, the anxiety felt different. It was mixed with a strange, fluttering pride. I wasn't being stared at because I made a mistake. I was being stared at because I was with her. "Chin up, Mia," Elena said softly, her voice barely audible over the campus noise. She didn't look at me, her gaze fixed on the path ahead, but her hand pressed firmer against my back. "Don't hide. You have nothing to be ashamed of." "I'm not hiding," I replied, though my voice was tight. "Good," she said. "Let them look. Let them see who you're with." We reached the main plaza where students gathered between classes. The sunlight was bright, casting long shadows across the brickwork. I felt exposed like a specimen under a microscope. Elena, however, looked entirely in her element. She moved with the authority of someone who owned the space. She guided me toward the bench near the humanities building, where we usually waited for lectures to begin. But before we could sit, a voice called out, "Hey, Mia." I froze. I knew that voice. It was Jason, a guy from my economics seminar. He was friendly enough, always smiling, always asking about notes. He walked toward us, a backpack slung over one shoulder, oblivious to the tension radiating from Elena. "Hey, Jason," I said, stopping. I felt Elena's hand stiffen against my back, but she didn't remove it. "I didn't see you yesterday," Jason said, stopping a few feet away. He smiled at me, then glanced at Elena, nodding respectfully. "Hey, Elena. Rough storm, huh?" "It was manageable," Elena replied. Her voice was polite but cold. Ice cold. She didn't smile. Her eyes were fixed on Jason's, unblinking. "Anyway," Jason continued, turning his attention back to me, "I was wondering if you wanted to study for the midterm? Maybe grab coffee later? There's this new place off campus." He trailed off. The air around us seemed to drop 10 degrees. I saw the moment he realized the dynamic. He saw Elena's hand on my back. He saw the way I was standing slightly behind her, protected. He saw the look in Elena's eyes. It wasn't anger. It was a warning. It was the look a predator gives when someone steps too close to its territory. "Mia is busy," Elena said. Her tone was final. There was no room for negotiation. "Oh," Jason said, blinking. "I mean, just study. It's no big deal." "It is a big deal," Elena corrected. She stepped slightly in front of me, shielding me from his view. Her posture was relaxed, but there was a coiled tension in her shoulders. "Her schedule is full. Her focus is required elsewhere." "Right," Jason said, taking a step back. He held up his hands in surrender. "Sorry. I didn't know." "How you do," Elena said. Jason nodded awkwardly and walked away, glancing back over his shoulder once. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. My face was burning. It was embarrassing being spoken for like that. But beneath the embarrassment there was a thrill. A dark, secret thrill. Was that necessary? I asked, looking up at her. "Yes," she said simply. She turned to me, her expression softening instantly. The ice melted, replaced by that intense, devoted warmth. "He was looking at you. People look at me, Elena. It's a public campus. They look," she corrected. "But they don't see. He wanted to take you for coffee. He wanted your time." "I don't share your time, Mia. I told you that." "You could have been nicer," I murmured, though I didn't pull away from her. "I could have," she agreed. "But I wanted him to understand. I wanted you to understand." She moved closer, invading my personal space in the middle of the crowded plaza. She didn't care about the audience. She reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear, her fingers lingering on my jaw. The touch was intimate, blatantly so. Students walking by slowed down, watching. Whispers started again, louder this time. "Listen to me," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper that only I could hear. She leaned in, her lips brushing the shell of my ear. The sensation sent a jolt of electricity down my spine. "Remember who you belong to. When you're in that classroom, when you're walking home, when you're sleeping, remember. You're mine." The words were possessive, absolute. They should have felt restrictive. But standing there with her hand on my face and her scent surrounding me, they felt like a promise. They felt like safety. "I remember," I whispered back. "Good." He pulled back, smiling. It was a small, satisfied smile. "Now let's go to class." He took my hand then, openly, in front of everyone. She interlaced her fingers with mine and began to walk toward the lecture hall. I had no choice but to follow. I walked beside her, our hands swinging slightly between us. The stairs were heavier now, but I didn't look down. I kept my eyes on her profile. She looked triumphant. She had marked her territory and she wasn't afraid to show it. We entered the lecture hall. The room was already half full. The usual hum of conversation died down as we walked in. Elena didn't head to her usual seat at the front. Instead, she walked to the third row. My row. She sat in the seat next to me, the one that had been empty all semester. She placed her bag on the desk and turned to me. "Sit," she said gently. I sat. The proximity was intoxicating. Our knees touched under the desk. She didn't move away. She opened her notebook, but I knew she wasn't looking at the page. She was looking at me. I could feel the weight of her gaze on the side of my face. It was the same gaze from chapter 1, but the context had changed. Then it was a mystery. Now it was a known quantity. It was love, twisted and intense, but love nonetheless. Professor Holloway walked in, starting the lecture. I tried to take notes, but my hand was steady now. I wasn't trembling. I glanced at Elena. She was writing, but her left hand was on the desk, close to mine. Slowly, deliberately, she moved her hand until her pinky finger hooked around mine. It was a secret connection hidden by the desk, but I felt it like a lightning bolt. I looked down at our hands, then up at her. She glanced at me, adjusting her glasses. There was a spark in her eyes, a challenge. Her expression said, "I told you." I squeezed her finger back. "Just once." She smiled, barely perceptible, and turned her attention back to the professor. But I knew she wasn't listening. She was listening to me. She was aware of every breath I took, every shift I made in my seat. The lecture dragged on, but I wasn't bored. I was hyper-aware. Every time the professor wrote on the board, Elena's thumb would stroke the side of my hand. Every time the room went quiet, I could hear the sound of her breathing. It was a private conversation happening in plain sight. When the class ended, she didn't let go immediately. She packed her bag slowly, keeping me tethered to her. "Lunch?" she asked. "I have a shift at the library," I said. "I know," she replied. "I'll walk you." "You don't have to." "I want to," she interrupted. "And I will." We stood up. She kept hold of my hand until we reached the aisle, then dropped it, replacing it with the hand on my back. The routine was established. The claim was made. As we walked out of the hall, I saw Jason sitting in the back row. He was looking at us. He looked confused, maybe a little intimidated. But he didn't approach. He didn't speak. He just watched. Elena noticed me looking. She didn't turn her head, but her hand pressed harder against my spine. "Don't worry about him," she said. "He's irrelevant." "I know," I said. And I did. He was part of the background noise. Elena was the signal. We stepped out into the hallway. The light was bright, the noise of the students overwhelming. But I felt insulated. I felt protected. The obsession that had terrified me a week ago now felt like a fortress. She was watching me, yes. But she was also watching for me. She was scanning the crowd for threats, clearing the path, ensuring nothing touched me without her permission. It was a heavy thing to be loved like this. To be owned. But as I walked beside her, matching her stride, I realized I didn't want to be free. Freedom meant being invisible again. Freedom meant being just another student in a crowd of thousands. This meant I mattered. I mattered so much that she would burn the world down to keep me safe. "Elena," I said as we reached the stairs. "Yes, Mia? Thank you." She stopped. She turned to look at me, her eyes searching my face. "For what?" "For claiming me," I said. "In front of everyone." She smiled then, a genuine, radiant smile that transformed her face. She leaned in, quick and discreet, and pressed a kiss to my cheek. It was brief, but it sent a shockwave through the hallway. People stopped to look. "You don't need to thank me," she said. "It's simply the truth." She turned and started down the stairs, expecting me to follow. And I did. I followed her down the steps, into the crowd, into the future. I knew there would be challenges. People would talk. They would judge the intensity of us. They would call it unhealthy. But they didn't know what it felt like to be the sole focus of someone like her. They didn't know the warmth of her hand, the safety of her gaze. We reached the bottom of the stairs. The library was in sight. Elena stopped at the entrance. "I'll pick you up at 4, she said. "Okay," I replied. "Don't talk to anyone else," she added, half joking, half serious. "I won't," I promised. "Good." She lingered for a moment, looking at me as if memorizing my face for the hours we would be apart. Then she turned and walked away. I watched her go. She walked with purpose, her back straight, her head high. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. She knew I was watching her. She knew I was waiting. I turned and walked into the library. It was quiet, familiar. But I wasn't the same girl who had sat here during the storm. I wasn't the girl who dropped her pen in chapter 1. I was different. I was marked. I walked to the circulation desk to clock in, and the librarian smiled at me. "Nice day," she said. "It is," I replied. I sat at the desk, organizing the returns. But my mind was elsewhere. I was thinking about 4 o'clock. I was thinking about her hand on my back. I was thinking about the whisper in the plaza. "Remember who you belong to." I touched my cheek where she had kissed me. The skin was warm. I picked up a book to scan it, but I paused. On the inside cover, someone had written a name. I looked closer. It was just a library stamp. But for a second I thought I saw her handwriting. I smiled. I was surrounded by her. In the scent on my clothes, in the memory of her touch, in the expectation of her return. The hours passed quickly. I didn't feel lonely. I felt accompanied. Every time the door opened, I looked up, hoping it was her. And when 4 o'clock came, I was already packed, waiting by the entrance. She was there exactly on the dot. She didn't check her watch. She didn't need to. She knew the time. She knew everything. "Ready?" she asked. "Ready," I said. We walked out together. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the campus. The air was cooling, but I wasn't cold. I took her hand this time without waiting for her to offer it. She looked down at our joined hands, then up at me. Her eyes softened. "You're learning," she said. "I have a good teacher," I replied. He squeezed my hand. "Come on. Let's go home." Home. Not the dorms. Not the apartment. Just home. Wherever she was. We walked across the quad, ignoring the stairs, ignoring the whispers. We were in our own world, a world of two. A world where I was seen and she was watching. And that was enough. That was everything. The campus lights flickered on as dusk settled. We walked into the shadows, hand in hand. The story wasn't over. The obsession wasn't fading. It was growing. And I was growing with it. I looked at her profile, illuminated by the street lamps. She was beautiful. She was terrifying. She was mine. And I was hers. The night stretched out before us, full of possibilities. But I wasn't afraid of the dark anymore. I knew who was walking beside me. I knew who was watching over me. The claim was made. The boundary was crossed. The game was won. And I never wanted to stop playing. 3 months had passed since the storm. The campus had transformed from the damp, gray hues of autumn into the crisp, biting clarity of winter. Frost lined the edges of the lecture hall windows, and the breath of students hung in the air like white smoke as they hurried between buildings. But inside the small cafe on the corner of 4th and Main, the world was warm. The air smelled of roasted coffee beans and cinnamon, and the soft hum of jazz music provided a steady backdrop to the quiet clatter of cups and the turning of pages. I sat in the corner booth, the one with the plush red velvet seats that faced the street. It was our spot. Elena had chosen it weeks ago because it offered a clear view of the entrance and the exit, a tactical advantage she deemed necessary even in public. She sat opposite me, her laptop open, her glasses perched on her nose. She looked the same as she had on the first day of class. Perfect posture, immaculate clothes, an aura of controlled intensity. But things had changed. The sharpness in her eyes had softened when she looked at me. The tension in her shoulders eased when I reached across the table to touch her hand that I was working on an essay for my literature class, but my focus kept drifting. It was hard to concentrate when she was watching me. She wasn't staring with the hungry intensity of Chapter 1, nor the possessive warning of Chapter 6. It was a quiet, steady gaze. A check-in. Every few minutes, her eyes would lift from her screen to meet mine. She would smile, small and private, before returning to her work. It was a rhythm we had established. A silent conversation that said, "I am here. You are here. We are safe." "You're staring at the same sentence," Elena said softly. She didn't look up from her laptop, but I knew she was smiling. "I'm thinking," I replied, tapping my pen against the notebook. "You're procrastinating," she corrected. She finally looked up, pushing her glasses up the bridge of her nose. "Do you need help?" "I need coffee," I said, lifting my empty mug. Elena stood up immediately. "I'll get it. Stay here." "Elena, I can get it. It's right there." "Stay," she repeated, her voice gentle but firm. She reached out, adjusting the scarf around my neck. Her fingers lingered on my collarbone, warm through the wool. "It's cold near the counter. You stay warm." I watched her walk to the counter. She moved with purpose, head high, ignoring the few other students in the cafe. She ordered 2 lattes extra hot, exactly how I liked them. She paid before I could even reach for my wallet. It was a small thing, but it was part of the dynamic now. She took care of me. She managed the variables. She ensured my comfort. In the beginning, it had felt suffocating. Now it felt like being cherished. I had learned to accept her care not as a constraint, but as a language of love. She returned with the mugs, setting mine down in front of me with a precise movement. She sat back down, wrapping her hands around her own cup. "Thank you," I said, taking a sip. The heat spread through my chest. "You're welcome," she replied. She reached into her bag then. She pulled out a leather-bound book. It was similar to the sketchbook from her apartment, but this one was smaller, bound in deep blue leather. She slid it across the table toward me. "What's this?" I asked, running my fingers over the cover. "A gift," she said. "For the semester end." "Elena, you didn't have to." "I wanted to," she interrupted. "Open it." I opened the cover. The first page was dated from the day of the storm. It was a sketch of me sleeping on the sofa in her apartment. The detail was exquisite. She had captured the way the light hit my eyelashes, the slight part of my lips. I turned the page. There was a sketch of us walking across campus in Chapter 6, my hand in hers. Then another of me studying in the library. Then one of me laughing at something she said in this very cafe. "It's us," I whispered, looking up at her. "It's our history," she corrected. "I told you I draw when I can't look. But lately, I draw to remember how happy you look." My throat tightened. I traced the lines of the drawing with my thumb. "There are so many." "Every day," she said. "Since the storm. I didn't miss a day." I looked through the book, page after page of me. But unlike the first sketchbook, these weren't just observations. They were moments. Me drinking coffee. Me tying my shoe. Me looking at her. She had captured the intimacy of our daily life, the quiet moments that no one else saw. "Elena," I said, my voice thick. "This is incredible." "It's not enough," she said quietly. She leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand. "I want to keep drawing you. For years. Decades. Decades." I echoed. She didn't flinch. She held my gaze, her eyes steady and sure. "I've been looking at housing options for next year. Off campus. A 2-bedroom. Or a 1-bedroom if you prefer." My heart skipped a beat. "You're talking about living together." "I'm talking about permanence," she said. "I don't want to say goodbye at the dorms anymore. I want to wake up with you. I want to make you coffee in the morning. I want to watch you study without a table between us." It was a big step. A huge step. 6 months ago, the idea of Elena knowing my schedule was terrifying. Now, the idea of her knowing where I was sleeping every night felt like the only logical conclusion. "What if I say yes?" I asked. "Then I'll sign the lease tomorrow," she replied. "I already have the paperwork ready." I laughed, a soft, surprised sound. "Of course you do." "I'm prepared," she said, a hint of a smile touching her lips. "I'm always prepared where you're concerned." I closed the sketchbook, holding it against my chest. It felt heavy, significant. It was a record of her devotion, a physical manifestation of the promise she had made in the library. I'm watching. But now it meant I'm here. Yes, I said. Elena exhaled a long, slow breath. Her shoulders dropped. She reached across the table, covering my hand with hers. Her grip was warm, solid. Good, she whispered. I'm glad. We sat in silence for a while, watching the people pass by outside the window. The sun was beginning to set, casting long orange shadows across the snow-covered sidewalk. Students hurried past, heads down against the wind. They looked cold. They looked lonely. I looked at Elena. He was watching me again. What? I asked. Nothing, she said. Just looking. You're always looking. Only at you, she replied. The rest of the world is just background noise. It was true. In the cafe, the other couples were talking, laughing, arguing. But they faded into the periphery. My focus was entirely on her. The obsession had balanced itself. It wasn't just her watching me anymore. It was us watching out for each other. I knew her tells now. I knew when she was stressed by the way she tapped her pen. I knew when she was happy by the slight softening of her eyes. And she knew me. She knew when I was tired, when I was hungry, when I needed space. It was a dance we had learned, a rhythm we had mastered. Let's go, she said eventually, checking her watch. It's getting dark. I don't like you walking in the dark. I have you, I said, standing up and pulling on my coat. Exactly, she replied. She stood up too, helping me with my scarf. She wrapped it tightly around my neck, tucking the ends in with careful precision. There. Now you won't get cold. Thank you, I said. Always, she replied. We left the cafe, stepping out into the winter evening. The air was sharp, biting at our exposed skin. Elena immediately took my hand, pulling me close to her side. She walked on the outside, closer to the street, shielding me from the traffic. It was a habit she had developed, one I didn't question anymore. The walk to my dorm was short, but we took our time. The campus was quieter now, the evening crowd thinning out. The streetlights flickered on, casting pools of yellow light on the snow. Our footsteps crunched rhythmically on the path. Do you regret it? Elena asked suddenly. Her voice was low, carried away by the wind. Regret what? Me, she said. This. The way I am. I stopped walking. I turned to face her. She stopped too, looking down at me. Her face was illuminated by the streetlight, her expression vulnerable. She was asking for reassurance. Even after everything, even after I had said yes to living together, she still feared I would leave. The obsession was rooted in insecurity, and I understood that now. Elena, I said, reaching up to touch her face. Her skin was cold from the wind, but I warmed it with my hands. I don't regret you. I was scared at the beginning. I won't lie about that. I know, she whispered. But now. I looked into her eyes. I saw the reflection of the streetlight and my own face looking back at her. Now I can't imagine being with anyone else. Anyone else would look away. Anyone else would let me fade. You don't let me fade. Elena leaned into my touch, closing her eyes for a moment. I never will. I know, I said. That's why I said yes. That's why I'm here. She opened her eyes. The vulnerability was gone, replaced by that familiar, steady devotion. She leaned down and kissed me. It was a soft kiss, chaste and sweet, tasting of coffee and cold air. It wasn't desperate like the kiss in Chapter 5. It was confident. It was a promise kept. Come on, she said against my lips. Let's get you inside. We continued walking. The dorm building came into view, its windows glowing warm against the night. We stopped at the entrance. This was the part we were changing next semester. No more goodbyes at the door. But for tonight, the ritual remained. I'll text you when I get home, she said. I know, I replied. And I'll text you when I'm in bed. Good. She adjusted my scarf one last time, her fingers brushing my cheek. Sleep well, Mia. You too, Elena. She turned and walked away. I watched her go, standing in the doorway until she disappeared around the corner. I knew she would look back. She always did. And she did. Just before she turned the corner, she glanced back, raising her hand in a small wave. I waved back. I turned and entered the dorm lobby. The warmth hit me instantly. I walked to the elevator, pressing the button. As I waited, I opened my bag and touched the leather cover of the sketchbook. It was solid, real. I rode the elevator up to my floor and walked down the hall to my room. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. It was quiet. My roommate was out for the evening. I sat on my bed, placing the sketchbook on my nightstand. I looked around the room. It was small, cluttered with textbooks and clothes. It was temporary. Next year it would be different. Next year it would be ours. I lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. The events of the semester played out in my mind like a film reel. The pen dropping in the lecture hall. The locked office door. The storm in the library. The apartment. The claim on the plaza. And now the sketchbook. The future. It had been a whirlwind. A terrifying, intense, beautiful whirlwind. I had started the semester as a girl who wanted to be invisible. I was ending it as a girl who was seen. Truly seen. Not just glanced at, not just noticed, but known. I picked up my phone. A message popped up. Home. Lock your door. I smiled. I typed back. Door locked. Good night. Good night, Mia. Dream of me. I will, I replied that I put the phone down and closed my eyes. The room was dark, but I wasn't afraid. I never was anymore. I knew who was watching over me. I knew who was thinking of me. I knew who was planning for me. The obsession hadn't gone away. It had evolved. It had become a foundation. It was the structure upon which we were building a life. Some people would call it too much. Some people would say it was unhealthy. But they didn't know the warmth of her hand in the winter cold. They didn't know the safety of her gaze in a crowded room. They didn't know what it felt like to be the center of someone's universe. I rolled onto my side, hugging the sketchbook to my chest. The leather was cool against my cheek. I could feel the texture of the pages through the cover. I thought about the first day of class. I thought about the girl I was then. She was scared. She was lonely. She was hiding in the third row. I wished I could tell her that it was going to be okay. I wished I could tell her that the girl staring at her wasn't a threat. She was a home. But I didn't need to tell her. She would find out. Just like I did. One step at a time. One glance at a time. The silence of the room was comfortable. It wasn't empty. It was filled with the knowledge of her. I drifted toward sleep, the image of her face behind my eyelids. She was smiling. She was waiting. She was watching. And I was ready. The semester was over. The storm had passed. The claim was solid. I took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of the room, mixed with the faint trace of vanilla on my scarf. She said she only had eyes for me. And for the first time I only wanted to be seen by her. The darkness closed in, soft and welcoming. I wasn't alone. I was never alone. I slept. And somewhere in another room in another building she was drawing. She was drawing me. And I was hers. Forever.